PLC to promote and support Nigerian entrepreneurs with knowledge, expertise, and know-how so that more SMEs can succeed and grow, create more jobs, and build wealth. The program does this by bringing very successful entrepreneurs to radio to share their experiences so we all can learn from them and are inspired by their stories. Our topic today is cracking the business side of entertainment, and we have as guest someone who has made a name for himself and whose work in the entertainment space has earned accolades here at home, across Africa, and way beyond. He is dominant and a leading player in the film and music video space, where he has won just about every conceivable award. If there's a leading TV commercial you like or a music video you enjoy, he probably has his imprint. I am Martin Udoge, and our guest today, a very special guest, is Clarence Abiodun Peters. He is the founder, CEO of two companies, Capital Dream Pictures and Capitol Hill Records. And our topic is cracking the business side of entertainment. Clarence, there are many people who have seen your work. You know, they probably have viewed music videos, have seen commercials and all that. They probably don't know that you are the one behind so many of them. So for the benefit of our listeners, tell us what you do through these two vehicles you have, you know, the Capital Dream Pictures and then the Capitol Hill Records.
Thank you. Capital Dreams Pictures is a production company, motion picture production company. We shoot commercials, music videos, which we're mostly known for, documentaries, short films, and what we've pretty much been doing is consulting for feature films, post-production for feature films. We're about to start shooting our own feature films. Then there's Capitol Hill Music. Capitol Hill Music is a record label. That record label is about 8 years old now. We've had artists from Kel to Chidima to Obis Boss to Suspect.
So let's go back to how this whole thing started. I understand you started way back from as early as when you were 9 years old.
Yes.
So how did your journey into this entertainment space, how did you start?
I was literally born on, conceived of, like my mother would tell me on set. My father was and is a musician. His name is Sashina Peters, and my mother was at the School of the Dramatic Arts in Ife at the time. Her name is Clarence. They both met, and I was conceived. Now, the thing about when you conceive, your parents are two, not just big personalities, but also artistic, extremely artistic people. Is that you tend to pick up a lot. I grew up with my mother, but I was always around artistic people. So by the time I was 9, right, I unofficially started working on sets, just running around, right, PA work. It wasn't official. It was just that you're here, so you must do something, right, and you know what's going on. So. Yeah. By the time I was 13, then I officially started having job descriptions saying, okay, this is what you do, right?
Are you getting paid for it?
Yeah, but no, that was by the time I was 14.
Okay.
By the time I was 14, then it just seemed right for me to start getting paid, even though the money was not.
Okay.
All right. From when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily like being put under the shadows of my parents, so I didn't want to do anything that had to do with them. I always wanted to just play soccer. So I said, well, this was what I was going to do. So I think I went to play. The funny story was I went to play football one day about when I was 15, and one of my business partners now, who's David Peter, the Suspect, we were on the same hood, and he fired a huge shot on my groins.
Okay.
I was on the floor.
Okay.
Then I got up and I was in pain. I just asked myself, look on this pitch, how many people can you see here that are better players than you are? And I could count about 8.
That were better than you?
That I knew for a fact that I would never be better than. I was like, then there's no point, because if I could ask myself right then, if anyone tapped me up and woke me up and asked me to define a screenplay or characterization of some sorts, I would, off the top of my head, right? So I went home and told my mom, look, I want to do film, and she was extremely happy about it, because finally, it wasn't like we had any issues about the soccer. She always supported me in anything, but she always thought I had a more natural talent, right, for film and for music. Right, and she gave me the option to choose between music and film, because she wanted me to be more focused on one. And I thought that if I did film, then I'd also have a chance to do music.
Okay, so you chose this line of what you're doing now, because you then, when that incident happened, you this is an area you could look at and say, look, I can be very dominant in this space.
This is an area
better than anybody else.
It wasn't just that; it was just an area that I knew that was me. Right, I for the longest of time I had the excuse of I didn't want to do what my parents did. I didn't want to be in my parents' shadows and all that, and it didn't make any sense anymore, because at some point I had to be objective about and true to myself, and this is the only thing that I knew that I knew.
Okay, so how then did you now begin to really prepare yourself? What prepared you for to take on this as a career? What did you have to do? Did you have to go to school or do a really proper formal learning? What happened?
The first 6 years, from when I was 9 all the way down, was my foundation, right? Then when I decided I wanted to do film, right, I was just about finishing from school, so while I was trying to get into film school, because that was the only option for me. I had nothing, didn't think about anything else. I decided to go intern with a company called Alpha Vision that belonged at the time to to the owner of Sound City and on TV right now. And I got in there as a continuity person, and I was supposed to intern there for a year, but I ended up working there after the internship for 1 year, an extra 2 years, right, as an assistant director, and I pretty much did.
How old were you at this time?
At this time I was about 17, 18, 19 years ago. Yeah, all right, it was my teens. All right, and I was from AD to art direction to post-production supervisor. I did every single thing for 3 years. I worked on Sound City as a 30-minute show, right, for the first 24 episodes. Everyday People, about 40 episodes. One Love, about 50 episodes. I just shot lots of shows. I think I must have done about like 10 to 12 different shows, and the minimum on each was about 24 episodes.
Okay.
Right. Then after that, I got a mission to go to Cape Town in South Africa, to a school called Fidelity, where I.
This is a production school.
This is a film and creative arts school.
Okay.
Right. So it was not just specific, just for film. It had sound design. It worked with actors, art department, everything that had to do with motion pictures, everything that had to be involved in motion pictures. All right. So I went there, and the course was supposed to be for 3 years, but because I already had prior experience, I was able to compress it down into 2 years. Right. Mainly because they couldn't stand my mother paying for 3 years. It just didn't make any sense when they could do it in 2. All right. So then we pretty much I did it in 2 years, and I got back. And when I got back, within 2 years that I was away, all right, the entertainment industry here had changed. It pretty much really changed.
What year was this?
This was 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
So the internet social media was just that's just the advent of new technologies. Okay.
Of new technology. Before I left, I'd always rooted and campaigned for the fact that Nigerian music was the next thing to blow. This was as early as 1999, right? And most people just didn't believe in the power of the music. By the time I got back, Two-Face was everywhere. I was like, what?
Okay.
I'm like, okay, all right. I got back, and for the first 2-3 months, I considered trying to go back into the film industry, and television industry, and it just didn't make any sense.
Okay. Just this is a business show. It's not so much an entertainment show. Okay. So pardon me for some of the questions I'm going to be asking.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. So if you look at when your dad was heavily in music, Shina Peters, right? that era and you compare it to the era of Two-Face today, what has changed and how are today's artists from a business money-making sense better positioned than the era before?
The two things you need to first understand, right? Within intellectual property, within the creative process, you cannot divorce the creative process from the business itself, because that's the product, right? Then you cannot divorce the social, economical, and political state of the economy within which that industry exists from. Right. The times in the 70s and the 80s and 90s are completely different from now.
Okay.
Right. The structures that were in place then, and the social consciousness and the mentality of the creative people, the young people, of the consumers was completely different from now. Right. So there were certain structures that were put in place. There was just, apart from physical structures, the structures that were put within that existed within the mentality of the creative person and the business person at that time, a lot of those don't exist right now. Right. What you have within music right now is you have a lot of entertainers. You don't have musicians. There are very few musicians. Right. So the discipline towards the arts that also extends into the business doesn't exist anymore. All right. That discipline is the discipline that would make a guitarist focus on his craft and his arts. That same kind of discipline was what he'll carry into how he wants to run his band and how his band will make money, right? How they would structure that, right? But when you don't have any sort of discipline at all, and all you just believe is that you go into the studio, a producer put up the beat, you'd say whatever the next 3, 4, 5 things that comes to your head, it comes that easy, then when the money comes, you do it that easy.
Oh, okay. All right. so let's look at the pie. If you look at the if you take you have a record label, right? So how do record labels make money? How do the musicians make money? Who makes what? Maybe not in actual quantum, but how is money made in the music business?
Technically, there are no record labels. Technically, you don't have record labels in Nigeria, because the very definition of record label is a production company that makes money from record sales.
Yeah.
Records,
okay. Yes.
Right.
Albums.
Right. No one makes money from CDs or albums anymore. If you made an album and go to Alaba, it's going to Alaba, and you're almost guaranteed you're not going to get your money back. So albums have pretty much become promotional sales. So what you have, right, are mostly managements, people who try to manage artists, who try to create artists and expect to make their money from shows. And recently
performances,
performances, and recently endorsements. Those are the two revenues. If your artist isn't gigging, and if your artist doesn't have endorsement, then you are not making any money. It's as straightforward as that.
You can't make money from music, from albums, from sales.
You can't make money from your sales. What are you going to make from your sales? Anyone who's making anything above 2 million naira in a year of sales, of physical sales, not callback tunes, not any of that, of physical sales. Well, is really damn lucky.
Really? Wow, interesting. Our guest is Clarence Peters. He's the CEO, founder of two amazing companies, Capital Dream Pictures and Capitol Hill Music. Okay, not records. Okay, all right. Which one came first, and how did you connect both? Because one is music, one is pictures, one is film.
It was most inevitably was pictures, right?
The videos first.
Yes, it was videos. It was the production company, and the record label came about partly because it was a pipe dream that I've always had, but also to set up a record label can't just be out of passion. There has to be a strategy to it. So at the time we were like, look, if we wanted to be able to show some of our artistic prowess that would get us more customers, get us more gigs, allow us be able to do some of the things that we wanted to do, then we had to be able to control the music. We had to be able to control the artist. We had to be able to build the artist ourselves. So the only way to do that is to
own the artist.
To own the artist, sign an artist, or have a partnership with an artist where you can control how the artist looks, how the artist performs, what the artist sings, right? And Capitol Hill Music was born.
Okay. Now there's this this question that I think, always for me it's an interesting question because, creative people by nature are creative. They don't like boundaries. They don't like structure so much, right? But business itself, requires structure, requires discipline, requires rules. So how does a creative person, talented creative person, create a business, make it in business? What does a person need to do?
I don't agree that creative people don't like structure. I believe that creative people who have discipline, right, understand that they need structure. Whether the structure is conventional, well, that's a completely different question. But I believe that disciplined artistic people who take their art seriously, right, who have, don't forget that creative people are very focused about getting their voices heard. Now, if you understand that for you to get your voice heard, you have to have some sort of structure. Then you will have some sort of structure because that's the road, right? So the mentality of that people have about creative people not wanting structure is because you've experienced a lot of undisciplined creative people. People who just believe that their sheer talent is all it takes without having to harness that talent, having to have discipline for that talent.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to open up lines for people to call and ask you some questions. Are you ready for that? Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. The lines to call, our guest is Clarence Peters. He's the founder of Dream
Capital Dreams Pictures and Capital Hill Music.
Okay, yes, okay. So the lines to call are 277-1923, 277-2923, and 01632-0923. Okay, we already have a caller. You're welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Hope.
Okay.
Good morning, Clarence.
Hello, Hope. Good morning, Hope. Are you on the
Fine.
Are you on the road?
No, I'm leaving.
Okay.
Let me listen to you when I hear it was you coming down.
Okay, yes.
Sorry, sir. What's the relationship between you and Iblis?
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Mr. Tobechukwu Ejiofor, aka Iblis, is my business partner. He runs a company called the Gority Company that manages all the artists on the Capitol Hill Music. All right, and he also runs a huge part in the marketing for the production company Capital Dreams Pictures.
Okay, so Clarence, maintaining consistency, how can you help other people? And the third question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that wasn't very clear.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Consistency.
Consistency.
Maintaining consistency in this country pretty much is God. It's actually a really good question. I'm trying to satisfy the commercial audience, what people want and what you feel is right. It's a constant war. It's an ever evolving war. All right, but the key is to always remember why you came into the business in the first place and what your original intention is, and try to just stick with that line.
Okay. Yes. So, how much will it cost? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, the average cost that I believe, because this is relative, is 1.5 million would be an average cost for what should be charged, right? That would be seemingly profitable for both the production company and profitable for both the creative process.
What would that give you? 1.5 million for what does that? What does that do?
You can't. That's the thing about intellectual property. You can't determine what it will. You can't determine what it would give you.
So are you saying that for 1.5 I can get Two-Face to shoot a 5 minutes commercial, whatever?
No.
So what is
His question was about an artist and what an artist would pay to shoot a music video. This has
okay.
Yes, that was what his question.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right, then he asked a question about
How long would that kind of music video be for? What's the duration?
Right, but averagely it's between 3 minutes to 4 minutes, but
Okay.
it's also dependent on the content, on what the song is.
Okay.
Right. The song is what determines the budget, really,
Okay.
at the end of the day.
So that's an average. That's the
That's just an average.
Okay.
Average. He also asked a question about feature films. A feature film completely depends on the script. You can't determine what the budget would be, right? Without having a script. It's when you have a script, then you break a budget down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, just to add to that quickly, when you see some videos on YouTube, 10 million downloads, 20 million downloads, how do they make money?
It's actually, it's complicated, but it's also not complicated. If your videos are going through platforms like Vivo, they're on proper platforms, then you have
Spotify.
Spotify, all the Spotify's and all those people. You have your contract, you have your agreement, your downloads. The higher your hits, the more money you make. It's as straightforward as that. But
And these are channels open to anybody anywhere.
These are channels open to anyone anywhere. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Our guest has been Clarence Abiodun Peters. He's the founder, CEO of two companies, Capital Dream Pictures and Capital Hill Music. All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.